We just got an exciting new detail about the next Xbox. What's up, y'all? Welcome to Xbox Ready, the YouTube channel that is all about Xbox. And I am once again here with my buddy Jimmy Champagne. And Jim, I'm glad to have you on for this specific edition of Xbox Ready because we're going to be talking about a few things that we have to look forward to as Xbox fans. The first thing we're going to be covering is the next gen Xbox. I'm glad to have you on because you have actual experience. You were one of the first people outside of Microsoft Xbox to see the Xbox Series X. And I feel like that doesn't get talked about enough. Like, you were there for a moment of Xbox history, pretty much.
Yeah, that's right. I wrote a documentary about the history of Xbox. I interviewed Aaron Greenberg. I interviewed Major Nelson. I interviewed the hardware team. And because of that documentary, we got to reveal the Series X at the Austin Evans Experience. We got to see it early. They showed us the quick resume features. I was like, that is cool. They showed us the proprietary memory thing. I was like, that's cool. I didn't realize at the time that Sony was going to have a better version with the extra SSD slot, but it seemed really cool. It's like, oh, you can double your storage. They showed us the HDR thing where Halo 5 was converted to HDR, even though that's not an HDR game. It was really cool. They even let us take apart a Series X that had magnets on all the pieces so you could see how excellently engineered that little obelisk is. I thought it was sweet. I was really excited about it. 4 years later, which is insane. I can't believe it's been that long.
Now, before I get started into the new stuff that's just coming out, I feel like it's important to go over the major rumors that people are kind of latching onto or have latched onto so far. Number one, Xbox is going to try to get a jump on the PS6 and release some sort of new hardware in 2026. And people have been theorizing, because it's going to be a less powerful console, that would be the perfect opportunity for Microsoft to release some sort of hybrid situation, kind of like a Xbox take on a Nintendo Switch, where it's a handheld and then you can dock it to a monitor or a TV. I guess kind of like you can do with a Steam Deck as well. And I gotta say, I don't know if that's accurate or if that's what's actually going to happen, but judging on what has been going on with Xbox lately, I would rate it as 70% believable. Console sales seem to have peaked back in 2022. That seemed to have been prime time for the Xbox Series X and S. Since then, has it been super great? I am of the opinion that Xbox would want to kind of cut their losses on the Xbox Series X and S. Don't get me wrong, I love those consoles, but I can envision Microsoft being let's just cut our losses and move on to the next thing.
They could get the naming situation figured out, right? They could do the Xbox 4. I don't know what they're on right now. Xbox 4, Xbox 3. They could do that. Could be cool. They could streamline it into one console, which would be smart. They could then do the handheld, which would interact with that console. And Xbox Series X is still powerful, so they wouldn't be leaving that group behind, right? All the games that would come out, you'd expect to still run on the Series X and S. It would just be punch up for an Xbox Series X Pro. Be a little bit more powerful than the PS5 Pro, a little less powerful than the PS6, but it would get them into a new generation of console that would reignite interest, which makes sense.
I really don't think there is a concern that if they moved on to a next console, they would stop supporting the Series X and S. We saw how long the Xbox One continued getting support well into this generation. So yeah, overall, I think, they could introduce a new machine, get people excited, and the launch of new exciting hardware could also coincide with the release of these really awesome games that they've been showing off and we've been looking forward to. I think it could be really cool if they did get that rumored jump on the PlayStation 6 and release in 2026. I would say the second biggest rumor is that the Xbox Next is going to be some sort of PC console hybrid that would run PC versions of the game. And rumors around this have been exasperated, I would say, with comments from Phil Spencer saying oh yeah, I would love the Epic Game Store on this. And people are like, well, if you have the Epic Game Store, you can get Steam on there, which would be super, super dope. And I don't know how likely it is that this will actually happen, but I will say I like it for the sole reason that it would unify the development process for Xbox. They would only make one version of their game, PC, versus asking developers to make 3 versions between an X, S, and a PC version.
Yeah, I'd just be worried that you'd lose out on the console optimization, so, in that scenario. And also, Man, I wish he said Steam instead of Epic, because Epic sucks. Like, let's be real here. No one buys games on Epic. You wait for the free games to come up. They do sales all the time where they give you a $10 coupon. Like, the data's out there. People don't even consider Epic Game Store releases to be a PC release. When a game is on Epic first, it's not like, it doesn't even penetrate PC gamers' mind. Then when it comes out on Steam a year later, PC gamers consider that the PC game release of that game. So I don't think that would win over any PC people, honestly, because they already have more powerful hardware than whatever they're going to get from Xbox. But like, from the free games perspective, that's cool, but then Xbox doesn't make any money on that. So like, I don't know. I don't see a smart move in that future. But if they could get Steam, that's a totally different story. Like, if they could put the Steam store on the Xbox and implement a sort of system where when you buy a Steam game on your Xbox, Xbox gets a little bit of the cut, that would make a lot more sense. But like, Epic is like garbage. It's just a bad software all around.
Yeah, I mean, I could potentially see it being very confusing if you are used to just a traditional Xbox, a traditional console, and then you go from the Series X or S to like a PC console. I could see that being like a bit jarring for their existing customer base.
I could see that with the handheld making sense, right? Like, bring it in line with the Steam Deck, give it an OS update, put that OS on the ROG Ally X. Like, that's a win-win right there. It keeps people playing on Game Pass.
I would say that's the like next biggest rumor. Like, the handheld just keeps popping up, and Phil Spencer keeps running his mouth and saying like, I would love a handheld. I would love a handheld. It'd be dope if we had an Xbox handheld. So we're hearing a ton of stuff, not only from fans and quote unquote insiders, but we're hearing some interest in an Xbox handheld from leadership themselves. It's kind of ties into like, oh, it's gonna maybe be like a PC, maybe emulate the games instead of running them natively.
Well, that wouldn't be, I mean, they would just be running the PC versions, which on the Ally X, Game Pass store games run really well. I was playing Gears of War Ultimate Edition on my Ally X and it was awesome.
I gotta get me one of those. I should have got that.
Give me that.
What?
Give me that.
My food?
I'm joking.
I would say the last and major rumor that we have to go off of is from Xbox themselves. Sarah Bond promising us that the next-gen Xbox is going to represent the single greatest technological leap in console history. It's going to be the biggest leap ever. I don't know how they're going to deliver that. I feel like we've kind of reached, what is it called? Like the,
Singularity?
Singularity, like convergence on, like, I feel like graphics for a while, it's not going to be so much of a leap as in like small increments of getting better over time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like I think what you're going to see is performance improvements, which is great. You're going to see more 60 FPS games, higher resolutions.
That's definitely what we need. I think the whole like graphical jump, it's behind us, right? Like the Xbox to the Xbox 360, that was mind-blowing, made me shit my pants. I was like, oh my god,
that was crazy.
Nowadays it's like, yeah, I'm looking for those smooth frame rates, and man, I guess my standards just like dropped exponentially low. Like, I'm just looking for locked 60 FPS, smooth frame rates, and good performance on games. Like, I guess it's been a pretty rough like couple of years if that is my big ask for the next gen Xbox.
Well, that problem was really caused by this generation where there's so many cross-gen games. Like in the last one, the Xbox One and PS4 generation, the standard was still 30 FPS. Like, that's what you were shooting for. And then there was outlier games like Call of Duty that were 60, but now since they did so many cross-gen games this gen, they all ran 60 on the Series X and PS5, so you got people used to it, and now that's the standard you have to live up to, which is great because that was always the reason I played on PC in the first place, was to get 60 FPS. But if I can get that on a console, I'm going to play on a console. I don't want to mess with settings or any of that.
So Jim, are you ready for the new tidbit of information that every Xbox YouTuber, every tech YouTuber is going to be talking about and circulating for the next, like, at least couple of weeks?
Sure.
So, Jez Corden was talking on his podcast that he has with Randall Thor, Xbox 2, and this is what he had to say about the next-gen Xbox. He says, I'll tell you now, but he's British, so imagine I'm speaking in a British accent. So, I'll tell you now, there's going to be a separate handheld, and there's going to be an Xbox Series X successor. It's going to be two different things. They're not just going to try and go all in on handheld only. They're going to do a more traditional console for the Series X people, and then a handheld. I'm predicting a Series X successor, a handheld, and the end of paywall for premium multiplayer games. That's my prediction. Now, to be fair, before we say anything else, people can be wrong. I have been wrong. Jim has been wrong. Jez Corden has been wrong. I remember, because I listened to his podcast, and I remember he was like, back in 2022, he was like, there is no way that Xbox Bethesda delay Starfield now that they have set a date. And of course they did. And of course they did delay it. So like, we're all human. People can make predictions, swing and miss, whatever. But if this is true, I'm hoping that it's true, that we have that traditional Series X-like console, a handheld. I mean, the end of paying to play games online, that would be pretty sick too. I don't know if how reasonable that would be, because they just transitioned away from Xbox Live and then bundled in online multiplayer into every tier of Game Pass. So I don't know like if that's something that we're gonna see at least anytime soon, but I'll admit that would be pretty cool.
It should be free. It should have never been something you should pay for, because I don't care how much money it costs to keep those servers running. You came up with the feature. That should be free. I pay for internet already. I shouldn't have to pay you to use the internet.
I mean, back in the day when Xbox Live was like really popping and like that was a cultural kind of thing, I was willing to pay for it. But now I'm like, I'm already paying. They're trying to make it to where it's like you're paying for Game Pass, right? Not necessarily to play games online. You're paying for the catalog of games, whatever tier that you subscribe to. The online is just kind of an extra perk, so you might as well just make that free. If they're gonna go with a 2 SKU lineup, they have to find a way to make sure that the same version runs on both consoles. They can't do 2 separate versions of the game anymore. They should just consolidate it.
Well, you'd assume that the console would be a console that has like preset settings, preset optimization, and then that the handheld would be more like the ROG Ally X, where it's just a PC and then it runs the Windows version, and then it ships with the preset or whatever, like an Xbox handheld, but they don't have to do a ton of extra legwork to get it up and running, because the Ally X is great. It can run pretty much everything. Like I was playing Helldivers the other night, and that doesn't run well on the Steam Deck or the original ROG Ally, but they added in a Steam Deck graphics preset, and that preset works excellently on the Ally X. So that's what you'd expect to see there.
The more I think about it, the more I'm interested in this no paying for online multiplayer on the Xbox side, because that could be like, do you think that's enough to get people to stop and be like, okay, I want to switch to Xbox because they're offering free online play?
Dude, honestly, yeah, because I mean, if the only game you play every year is Call of Duty, you should not subscribe to Game Pass. Like, that is a stupid thing to do. $20 a month, you've paid off Call of Duty in 3 or 4 months. So if you subscribe to Game Pass just to download Call of Duty, you're an idiot, essentially. Like, you should just buy the game. But buying the game becomes a lot smarter when you don't have to pay for online, because you're just buying the game you're going to play online anyway. You pay once, you get the game, you pay a little extra, you get it early, and then you don't have to pay in the future to keep playing it. And there are a lot more games on Xbox than PS5 that don't require live in the first place. So it seems like they've been going that way just to get more people in. Like, they want to build the user base of the Xbox ecosystem. Take away as many barriers as you can. Like, leave Game Pass there for people who want to play Indiana Jones, Fable, Stalker 2, all these other games day one. But then give people who don't want to subscribe to Game Pass, because all they're going to play is Call of Duty and NCAA 25 and 26, a reason to pick that thing up, because they don't have to pay for online. That's a huge boom, because to pay for PS Plus, that's $60 extra a year. It's another game. But you remove that barrier, that's another game you can go buy.
What a novel idea. It's like we're going back to like original, like common sense when it comes to gaming.
That makes a lot of sense. And it's the same game, right? Like, Call of Duty has full crossplay, so you're not going to miss out on playing with your friends if you buy it on Xbox and they all get it on PS5. You can just use Discord to chat with them between consoles. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, to me, eliminating the paywall, if that is truly what's going to happen, if it plays out like Jez predicts, it could be potentially a return to what made Xbox great in the first place. Xbox Live, a thriving online community that people looked forward to hopping on after work, after school, and just hanging out. That will depend on like how they handle their moderation going forward. Like, if they continue down this path of being super draconian and banning people for the smallest thing, that is not going to work out.
Yeah, their whole mission statement so far this year, or like the past couple of years, has been really putting the amount of people who are playing everything on the Xbox platform. So like cloud, console, PC, front and center. You want to grow that shit immediately. Stop charging for it. Like, give people an easy option to play games on the Xbox platform. It's not going to mean much on PC because Steam is free to play online and Steam is just like the default platform, but I think that would matter a lot to people who are hurt by inflation and want to play games but maybe can't swing the $60 a year or whatever to pay for PS Plus, or don't want to pay $20 a month for Game Pass. They get a cheaper console with the Xbox, they get the game for one price, you play the game for free. Like, that's a real game time decision sort of driver.
How much money are they making off of money collected from online fees specifically? Like, is it so much that if they were to get rid of it, they would collapse or like not be able to function anymore? Because yeah, I mean, we're seeing these other examples of games doing it. So I think there is precedent for it, and they can easily follow that precedent without going under and make up the revenue in other ways. Again, like adding awesome games to Game Pass and boosting your subscriptions that way. So, okay, so we got Jez's prediction. We got all these other people's predictions when it comes to the next gen Xbox. Let's throw in some predictions of our own. What is the craziest take that you have for the future of Xbox?
I think that if there is an Xbox branded handheld, like this thing is called the Xbox Series P, my favorite title ever, and it does run Game Pass games, it works with Steam, it works with Epic Game Store for people who play Fortnite, and it runs them well. Like, it's using a, if not the same but better chip than the Ally X, that will massively improve the situation with Windows handheld gaming, where the Ally X is like the best competitor to the Steam Deck, but it's not really selling anywhere near as well as the Steam Deck. That would make Windows gaming a real competitor to what Valve is doing with SteamOS. And I think it'd be cool. Like, that would be a must-own device. And if they got it out before Sony, I think that would be a big issue for Sony's next handheld. I think like the timing is really good for them.
You know, I don't really know what's going to go on with this sequel to the Series X or like the traditional standalone console. I'm going to go with what I know about Xbox, and I know that they're going to almost do too much, right? And so with the handheld especially, I don't think there's going to be just one handheld. I think there's going to be multiple. I think there's going to be like 2 or 3. There's going to be ones with different screens. There's going to be ones with different storage options. There's going to be some with like maybe like a better chip. I don't know, but it's not just going to be one Xbox handheld. It's going to be multiple. That's my call.
Yeah, and then they'll forget something super important like a big battery. They'll be like, fuck.
A year later, they're going to come out with one with a better battery, and then it's going to be 3. And then I was going to buy it, and they're like, no, it's going to be a different color too. So we're going to be talking about it on this channel. It's like, oh, the handheld is black, but this one's coming up, it's white. Yeah, that's definitely going to happen. So I'm calling out multiple handhelds, and then screw it, man, maybe even multiple of the standalone consoles too. One thing we know about Xbox is that they're just going to put out, they're going to make it slightly confusing for everyone. They can't just do the one. There's gonna be multiple ones. Like right now, look, there's 2 Series S consoles, there's 3 Series X consoles. That's 5 freaking X, like what, like 5 different versions of the same console pretty much. Well, okay, no, everyone's gonna come at me because it's like, no, because Series S is different than the X. There's 5 different Xboxes out there. I guarantee you that's gonna be the same case next gen. Anyways, guys, that's all the Xbox stuff we have to talk about today. Thanks so much for joining us for another edition of Xbox Ready. If you've made it this far into the video, please consider subscribing. Help me get to 200K so Jimmy can stop making fun of me.
I'm at 203 now.
Oh, hell. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.